Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, we're going to be breaking down the Week 3 Thursday Night Football Showdown slate on Draftkings. We got the Panthers and the Texans playing on Thursday night. We got another Showdown slate to cover. We got some big prizes up top once again for this Showdown slate. So before we get started with the breakdown, as always guys, I would appreciate it if you would click that like button down below. Make sure you subscribe to the channel as well if you are new here. I'm trying to upload as much NFL content to the channel as I can right now. Trying to get up videos just about every single day, covering the Showdown slates, covering the main slate. So make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Also, comment down below. Let me know some of your favorite plays for the Showdown slate. Let me know kind of how you're looking to build out your lineups. We'll obviously talk through how I'm approaching this Showdown slate, but I always want to hear your guys' thoughts. Always love to talk with you guys in the comment section. I try and reply to every single comment, so be sure to comment down below. Let me know some of your favorite plays for this Thursday night Showdown slate. But yeah, guys, let's go ahead and start off at the top. We're going to go from top to bottom, kind of talk about all the playable options, really just, all the guys that are viable on this Showdown slate. So starting off at the top, you got Christian McCaffrey. As you would expect, the most expensive option. He's $13,400 as a flex play. And if you want to put Christian McCaffrey in the captain spot, it's going to cost you a lot of salary, $20,100 in the captain spot. But for me, Christian McCaffrey is going to be a stone cold lock for me. I mean, I don't really see any way not to play Christian McCaffrey here. If you fade him, you got to just cross your fingers and hope that he has a bad game. I mean, Christian McCaffrey is going to be 95, close to 100% owned, and you're probably going to lose if you don't play him. I mean, if I was playing 100 lineups for this Showdown slate, I probably would play Christian McCaffrey in every single one. It's just such a good matchup. The spot could not be better. This Houston team was terrible against the run last year. They should be terrible against the run once again this season. Pretty sure so far this year they've already averaged over 5 yards per carry. They faced the Jaguars week 1, then they faced the Browns week 2. Got torched on the ground, gave up 215 rushing yards total in those two games. So, yeah, Christian McCaffrey is a great play here. They're big-time favorites, the Panthers are. They should be running a ton, especially late in the game. 7.5-point favorites. Love Christian McCaffrey. He's clearly the top play on the Showdown slate. You're going to want to have him in a lot of your lineups. I would be very surprised if Christian McCaffrey is not in the winning lineup for the Showdown slate. I think the only way that doesn't happen is he would probably have to get hurt or something, because even with him not scoring touchdowns, he's only scored one touchdown this season, but still 27, 24 DK points. Like week 1 did not score a touchdown, had 27 DK points. Week 2 scored a touchdown then, but 24 DK points. Like he just gets massive volume. 30 touches week 1, 29 touches week 2. I think we kind of understand the point, right? Christian McCaffrey is a clear top play. Now that you get to the quarterback, though, Sam Darnold, 11,200. Sam Darnold's been really good so far with the Panthers through 2 games. 20 and 22 DK points in some, I don't want to say tougher matchups, but definitely like a matchup against the Saints. I was not expecting Darnold to play as well as he did. They played against the Jets week 1. He was really solid then. Really good matchup here against Houston. Houston should be terrible this year. Their defense should be really bad. Their secondary is not good at all, so it is a good spot for Sam Darnold. The only issue is that, Christian McCaffrey is really expensive. Sam Darnold's kind of expensive as well. If you want to play both those guys, for me, I'm definitely siding with McCaffrey. I think McCaffrey's the staple. He's the guy I want to build around. It's really tough to play McCaffrey, Darnold, and then still get in some pieces that you like. Like, you're really going to have to go super cheap, which, there are some cheap plays we'll talk about, but none of these cheap guys I feel very confident in. A lot of these Texans receivers, I don't feel that confident in. You're probably going to have to play one, if not 2 of these cheap Texans receivers to get in Darnold and McCaffrey together. But Sam Darnold is a good option for sure. Quarterbacks are normally always some of the top projected plays on Showdown slates. I expect Sam Darnold will probably be the second highest projected player on the slate, right behind Christian McCaffrey. But yeah, firmly in play. It's just a matter of if you can fit him in or not, if you can get him with Christian McCaffrey. And normally I don't like playing running backs and quarterbacks together on Showdown slates, but with a guy like Christian McCaffrey who is so involved in the passing game, obviously McCaffrey can have a big game, and Sam Darnold still do really well as well, because Christian McCaffrey could catch multiple touchdowns with how much they use him in the passing game. But then you got DJ Moore at 10,600, Brandon Cooks at 10K. 2 alpha wide receivers here. DJ Moore been very solid this season, getting really good volume. 8 targets week 1, 11 targets in week 2. 15, 21 DK points. Good matchup against a bad Houston secondary. I like DJ Moore at 10,600. I think between him or Sam Darnold, I do prefer Sam Darnold. I think Sam Darnold gives you a higher floor. The ceiling for Sam Darnold might not be as high, but between Darnold or Moore, normally I'm always going to side with the quarterbacks, and I think I would lean that way. But yeah, DJ Moore definitely in play. I probably would prefer him over Brandon Cooks. Now, Brandon Cooks, he's been great this season, but I am worried about the quarterback play here. With Davis Mills at quarterback, he's someone I really have no, I literally have no idea who he is. I've never heard of Davis Mills before. With him at quarterback, I mean, we just don't know what this Texans offense is going to look like. Right now, they only have a 17 and a half implied team total. Like, they could literally put up 7 points here. They could get shut out, and I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I don't tend to play defenses on showdown slates, but this is a great spot for the Panthers defense. This Texans offense with Davis Mills at quarterback, I mean, I don't think they're going to be too much, like, they're not going to do much at all. Now, Brandon Cooks did get massive volume last week. He did get 14 targets. Even after Tyrod Taylor left the game, I think Davis Mills was targeting Brandon Cooks a lot. And that's the one thing, the volume for Brandon Cooks, it should definitely be there. He's been the clear number one receiver for the Texans basically the last year or two, especially, now that Will Fuller's no longer on the team. I mean, this is Brandon Cooks is their number one receiver. He's going to get big time volume. Obviously, we would prefer that Deshaun Watson be the quarterback, but the targets should be there. It's just a matter of how efficient is this Houston offense going to be? Are they going to be able to put up big plays? Are they going to be able to move the ball down the field? That's what I worry about. Like, we could see them just get a lot of 3 and outs. We could see a lot of sloppy play from this Texans offense. I'm a bit worried about Brandon Cooks here, but I think the targets will be there. It's just a matter of if those will be efficient targets or not. That's the concern. I prefer DJ Moore over Brandon Cooks, but Cooks is at least viable just because we know he's going to get probably double-digit targets. This should be one of those games where we see, Houston going to have to throw a ton because they're probably going to be trailing, which leads me to Davis Mills, who is very affordable, $8,400 for Davis Mills. Very, very cheap for a quarterback. It's really unlikely that, or really just rare that you see quarterbacks be this cheap on showdown slates. Normally, quarterbacks are always at least like $9,500 or $10K. Davis Mills is only $8,400, and again, I don't know much about Davis Mills. I've never heard of him before. I think he went, I don't even know what college he played for, so I don't know much about him, but he's $8,400. He's a starting quarterback in a game where the Texans are probably going to have to throw because they're going to be playing from behind. This Panthers defense has looked really good through two games. I think this Panthers defense is much more improved than they were last season. They were a team that you could run on a lot last year. I don't know if that's going to be the case this year. They've been really stout against the run. They've been putting a lot of pressure on the quarterback. That worries me. I think Davis Mills is going to have a lot of pressure on him. I think he's going to probably take a lot of sacks. Definitely could throw a few interceptions, but again, he's $8,400. It's rare that you get starting quarterbacks this cheap on showdown slates, and the fact that he's probably going to have to throw the ball at least 30, 35 times because the Texans will likely be trailing so much in this game. I mean, that's going to make him playable for me. So as gross as it sounds, I do have some interest in Davis Mills at $8,400 as a cheap quarterback that probably gives you a 8-10 point floor, and obviously if he can find get a couple passing touchdowns, I mean, he definitely has somewhat of a ceiling, can put up close to 20 DK points. But then you got Robby Anderson at $7,800. Robby Anderson hasn't been great so far through 2 games, but we know Robby Anderson has big play upside. Now, week 1, he literally caught one ball, and that was a 57-yard touchdown. I mean, look, he had a fluky week 1 performance. If he doesn't catch that 57-yard touchdown, he's putting up a 0. He hasn't been great this year so far. He hasn't been getting the targets that you would want. But we know Robby Anderson has big play upside. We know he's a speedy receiver. He can always break off a long touchdown. These are the kind of guys that I like to target in showdown slates. I want these receivers that, can catch a 60, 70-yard touchdown. And Robby Anderson is that guy. I think he's going to be a lot lower owned than DJ Moore will be. Obviously, DJ Moore is way more expensive. But yeah, $7,800 for Robby Anderson, especially if you're playing Sam Darnold. You're probably going to want to have at least one of Sam Darnold's receivers if you are playing him in some lineups. I think Anderson might actually be the guy I prefer, just given the savings, given the likely lower ownership. I think he should be able to get past these Houston corners. I mean, this Houston secondary should be terrible. So I do like Robby Anderson a lot at $7,800 in that mid-range. But then you got Mark Ingram at $6,600. So the Texans, their running backfield, I've just been avoiding it so far this season. On the main slate, I haven't played any Texans running backs this year. I know Mark Ingram had a decent game week 1. I didn't play him then. I didn't play him last week. Obviously, you're going to have to consider these guys on a showdown slate. I mean, we just have such a limited player pool. These guys are playable, and $6,600 for Mark Ingram. He's gotten 26 and 14 carries through 2 games. Not much usage in the passing game, and I don't think he's going to be a guy that they use much in the passing game. They have David Johnson, who they can use in the passing game. They have Phillip Lindsay as well. So I don't know if Ingram's going to get much usage in the passing game, which is a concern, but I think he will be the goal line back. I think he probably will lead the team in touches on a weekly basis. He's led them in snaps so far, It has been pretty much like a three-way split in terms of snaps, but so far through 2 games, you've had David Johnson play 28% and 43% of the snaps. You've had Mark Ingram play 46% and 31%, and then you've had Phillip Lindsay play 26% and 23%. So overall, through 2 games, Mark Ingram has led the team, or led the running backs, the backfield in snaps played close to 40% per game. My best guess is Ingram plays like 35-40% of the snaps, probably gets like 12 to 15 carries. The game script is a concern. Like if the Texans do get down, let's say they get down 14-0 early, I mean, that's a concern because I don't think Ingram's going to be on the field too much in that case. But I still think he's going to get some touches early in the game. I think the Texans are going to try and run the ball as much as they can early on. And then if they get down, 14, 21 points, I mean, then they're going to be forced to throw. But we still should probably get 12 to 15 carries from Mark Ingram. With how much, involvement he's been getting in the running game, I do want to talk about his over on Prize Picks. So Prize Picks, guys, they are the sponsor of this video. If you do want to check out Prize Picks, be sure to do so. Link down below in the description, or just use promo code NOAH. When you do sign up for Prize Picks, you will get your first deposit matched up to $100. They'll give you an additional $100 to play with if you do sign up with my promo code. Right now, Mark Ingram only has a 37.5 rushing yard projection on Prize Picks, and I kind of like the over there. So if you want to take the over on that, that is one pick I do like on Prize Picks. And the other pick I like, forgot to mention it earlier, Christian McCaffrey, his fantasy point projection. Right now it's 24 fantasy points. Like I said earlier, he's gone over that in both games. 24.7 in last week, 27.7 week 2. This is definitely the best matchup he's had so far this season. Great spot for Christian McCaffrey. Really, all his overs I like on Prize Picks. So if you want to take the over on his rushing yards, 84.5, I like going over on that. If you want to take the over on his receiving yards, 51.5, I like going over on that as well. I'm expecting a big game for Christian McCaffrey. I really like all his overs, but for the sake of this video, we'll just take the over on 24 fantasy points and then the over on 37.5 rushing yards for Mark Ingram. Those are 2 props I do like on Prize Picks for this Thursday night game. So if you guys want to tell me you want to use these, do these picks for yourself, you could do a power play that would pay out 3x. So it's basically like a parlay. You have to get every pick right. But if you do get both picks right, you would triple your money. Or you can do a flex play, which is a little bit safer. Even if you only get one of your 2 picks right, you still get half of your money back. And if you get both picks right, you would double your money. So check out Prize Picks, guys. You can tell me on these picks. You can check out their board for this Thursday night game. You can make some picks for yourself. Just make sure you do use promo code NOAH when you sign up for Prize Picks. So that way you get that deposit bonus up to $100. So you deposit $100, they'll match that, give you an additional $100 to play with. But yeah, headed back to DK, looking at the rest of the board for this Showdown slate. We obviously talked about Ingram. You got the Panthers defense at 6,200. It is a great spot for the Panthers defense. It is one of those scenarios where you expect them to probably get a lot of turnovers. You probably expect them to have a lot of pressure on the quarterback. Their defense has looked great so far this year. Through 2 games, they've been getting a lot of pressure on the quarterback. 10 sacks through 2 games for Carolina's defense, 3 interceptions. I rarely go too heavy on defenses on Showdown slates. Normally, I just full fade the defenses, but I think I'll have a little bit of the Panthers defense. I still don't expect them to be like a staple of my lineups, but I will be sprinkling them in because I think this could be one of those games where we do get like a big game from a defense. I wouldn't be surprised if the Panthers defense ends with double-digit fantasy points. So they're expensive, but still playable in my opinion just because the spot's so good. But getting down to some of these other options, you got Phillip Lindsay, David Johnson. Like Phillip Lindsay so far this year through 2 games, he's gotten 9 and 6 touches. Hasn't really been as involved as a guy like Mark Ingram has. Even like David Johnson, I think, has been more involved than Phillip Lindsay has. David Johnson seeing 8 and 6 touches, so kind of similar. But I know David Johnson, I think, has played a few more snaps than Phillip Lindsay. He's played, he's played 34% of the team snaps through 2 games, and Phillip Lindsay's only played 24.5%. Look, Lindsay, David Johnson, I think are both just kind of dart throws. In terms of pass game usage, like pass game involvement, it seems like David Johnson's kind of the guys they want to utilize in pass down situations. He's gotten 6 targets through 2 games. So I guess in a scenario where Houston does get behind big and they're having to throw a lot, we might see a lot of David Johnson in that case. So between Lindsay or Johnson, I probably would prefer David Johnson, but I think my favorite of the Houston running backs is definitely Mark Ingram. He's the guy that I like most, but it would probably be Ingram number 1, Johnson 2, and then Lindsay 3 if I had to rank the Texans running backs. I mean, none of these guys I feel very confident in, but that's just how I would rank them for this Showdown slate. But then you got like Dan Arnold at 4,800. I mean, Dan Arnold probably going to get like 4 or 5 targets. He's been playing a decent amount of the snaps, I do believe. He played, let's see, he played 52% in week 1, only played 29% in week 2, which is a lot lower than I thought. But he's been getting 3 to 4 targets. Probably will get a few targets. 4,800, you pretty much got to hope that he scores a touchdown. I'm probably not going to play Dan Arnold, but he should be on the field enough to where he probably gets like a few targets. And if he scores a touchdown, he could be someone that you kind of have to have. I'm fine avoiding him, though. The price tag is pretty high for a tight end that's only playing like 30 to 40% of the snaps. Same with like Brandon Zylstra. Zylstra, last 2 games, he's played, let's see here. I know he caught a touchdown last week, but I don't really look too much into that. Last week he played, 18% of the snaps, 19% in week 1. I mean, he's played less than 20% of the snaps in 2 games. I'm not playing Brandon Zylstra. He's overpriced for $4,600 for a guy that's playing less than 20% of the snaps. So, yeah, him and Dan Arnold I probably wouldn't go to. If I were to play a cheap Carolina receiver, it probably would be Terrace Marshall. Terrace Marshall's seen 9 targets through 2 games. He's kind of been their slot receiver this season, playing about 50% of the snaps through both their 2 games. Hasn't really done much so far this year, but going to be on the field enough to where he probably gets like 5 or 6 targets. At 4K, if I had to play one of these cheap Carolina pass catchers, not named Robby Anderson, not named DJ Moore, it probably would be Terrace Marshall that I would go to. So I don't mind him at 4K. The kickers, I think, are definitely fine for value because value is pretty gross on this slate. Like a lot of these cheap guys you don't feel very good about. So if you want to play one of the 2 kickers, totally fine with that. Normally kickers are good to give you like 8 to 10 points. Sometimes they'll give you a little bit more, sometimes less. Rarely do I play both kickers, but I think one of the 2 is totally fine. Probably would prefer Carolina's kicker just because Carolina is expected to put up more points. But then like some other values, like Chuba Hubbard, I'm not going to, just not getting enough usage. Obviously, when you're backing up Christian McCaffrey, you're not going to be on the field much. So no interest in him, no interest in the Texans defense. Pharaoh Brown at 2,600, his snaps have been decent, I think. Like he played 76% of the snaps in week 1, 62% in week 2. The targets haven't been that good, only 6 targets through 2 games. He's pretty much touchdown or bust, I would say, at 2,600. Fine, but don't feel great about him. Same with Jordan Atkins. He's played 60% and 62% of the snaps through 2 games. Seems like Houston is running a lot of 2 tight end sets. They're going to have these guys on the field, like both of them on the field a decent amount. They're still not getting targeted that much, though. Both these guys, Atkins and Brown, are both like touchdown or bust. I feel like if you want to play one of the 2 and hope they score a touchdown, go for it. But I would probably just go a little bit cheaper. Talk about some of these other cheap Houston guys. So we got Chris Conley at 1,600. Last week, Chris Conley, I believe, played almost 90% of the snaps. He played, let's see. Yeah, Chris Conley played 90% of the snaps last week after only playing 51% the week before. And I think a big reason because of that was due to Nico Collins getting injured last week, and I think Danny Amendola got injured as well. So Chris Conley is pretty much their number 2 receiver right now behind Brandon Cooks. Nico Collins has already been ruled out for this game, and it seems like Danny Amendola is going to be out as well. So Chris Conley going to be the number 2 receiver, $1,600, going to play probably 85-90% of the snaps. He should be running routes when he's out there. Look, this Texans offense is probably going to be terrible. They're not going to be very efficient. They're probably not going to put up much points, but you're getting a receiver that's going to be on the field for close to 90% of the snaps at only $1,600. So sign me up for Chris Conley as a cheap receiver option. I do have some interest in him. And then I think Anthony Miller is probably going to be the slot receiver. He hasn't been activated yet through 2 games with Houston, but they already said that they expect him to be active for this game with Nico Collins out and with Danny Amendola doubtful to play. It seems like Anthony Miller is going to be the slot receiver. $1,000 for a slot receiver, sign me up for that as well. Again, Houston's offense, I'm not confident in. I'm not confident in Davis Mills, but you're getting guys super, super cheap that are going to be on the field. They're going to be running routes. They only need to score 8, 9 Draftkings points to be really good plays with how cheap they are, and they can definitely do that, especially if we think the Texans are going to have to throw a lot to catch up to Carolina, which is probably the way this game's going to play out. So Chris Conley, Anthony Miller, both I think solid values just because they're number 2, number 3 receivers and they're priced like they're not even going to play. So yeah, I like both Chris Conley and Anthony Miller for value. And even if you want to play Andre Roberts, he's their number 4 receiver. He'll get on the field a decent amount. So far, he hasn't really been involved. He did play 36% of the snaps, though, last week. I think the reason because of that was due to Amendola getting hurt. With Amendola unlikely to play Thursday, we might see Andre Roberts play 40, 50% of the snaps at $600. I mean, another punt option that I think is playable for sure. So all these guys, these cheap Houston receivers, I do have some interest in just because they give you salary relief that allow you to pay up for Christian McCaffrey, Sam Darnold, Brandon Cooks, DJ Moore, those guys at the top that we're definitely going to want to get. But that probably does it for the player pool, guys. I think we really talked about all the guys I have interest in, all the playable options. Hitting on roster construction real quick before we do end the video. You know, roster construction for me is very clear. I'm going to want to play Christian McCaffrey in basically all my lineups. Do I play him at captain in all my lineups? I don't think so, but for the sake of this video, let's take a look at like a build with Christian McCaffrey at captain. So he's obviously very expensive. You plug him in at captain, you're down to only $59.80 per player, but we've talked about these cheap Houston receivers you can go to. Like, for example, we can plug in Chris Conley, Anthony Miller, both of them into this build, and now we got over $9K left per player, so we got plenty of salary to work with. If we want to pair those two receivers with the quarterback, with Davis Mills, we can do that, and then we can kind of play around with what we've got. So we could do, like, Sam Darnold. We'd be just short of getting Robby Anderson there, which sucks because I would want to get Robby Anderson into this build. I guess if you wanted to, you could take out one of those Houston receivers and go to, like, I guess you could take out Chris Conley and go down to Andre Roberts, or you could take out Anthony Miller and go to Andre Roberts. I don't love that, but if you want to get Robby Anderson with Sam Darnold, you could do that. You'd be 100 short. That would be a really decent lineup, I think. But we could play like Sam Darnold and Mark Ingram, I guess, if you wanted to do that. You could play DJ Moore and Robby Anderson. You know, for DJ Moore, Robby Anderson to both be in the winning lineup, you would think that Sam Darnold would probably also have to be in the winning lineup, so I don't know if I really like that build. But you could do that, I guess, if you wanted to. Or you could do, I mean, there's other ways. You could do like Brandon Cooks and Robby Anderson. I mean, there's plenty of ways you could build around with it. But the value that I think these Houston receivers give you, in my opinion, is what's going to allow you to pay up for these guys. I'm definitely going to be playing these cheap Houston receivers. I think they're the better value plays. I think they're guys that can get enough targets, enough volume to be viable with how cheap they are. I mean, they don't need to score 15, 16 Draftkings points to be good options. If we get 8 points from Chris Conley, 7 points from Anthony Miller, there's a good possibility that they are in the winning lineup. And obviously they can do that with, you know, how much they're going to be on the field just because of how thin this Houston team is at the receiver position right now. So that's kind of, you know, how I'm approaching this Showdown slate, guys. Definitely starting my builds with Christian McCaffrey, plugging in a couple of these cheap Houston receivers, and then kind of working from there, seeing what I can build around that. But I hope you guys did enjoy this video. Hopefully I was able to cover everything. You know, hopefully you're more prepared for this Showdown slate for Thursday night. But again, guys, thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Hit that like button before you do get out of here. Hit that subscribe button as well. Make sure to comment down below and let me know some of your favorite plays for this Showdown slate. Maybe how are you planning to approach this? How are you kind of building out your lineups? Are you going to be playing just jamming in Christian McCaffrey? Are you going to take a risk and maybe fade him? Make sure to let me know down in the comments below. And lastly, check out Prize Picks before you do get out of here. Prize Picks, they are the sponsor of this video. If you guys want to sign up for Prize Picks, you want to tell me on the picks I gave out for this Thursday night game, you can sign up and use promo code NOAH when you do sign up, so that way you get a 100% match on your first deposit up to $100. If you sign up with my code, you deposit $100. Prize Picks will match that, and they will give you an additional $100 to play with. So now you have $200 that you could use to make any picks you want for this Thursday night game. But yeah, guys, appreciate you watching. Hope you enjoyed. Best of luck on this Showdown slate. We'll see you guys Thursday night for the live stream. I will be live on my YouTube channel, probably around 6:30 Eastern, talking through this slate with you guys once again, answering all your questions as always. But see you guys then. Best of luck. Peace.